Good morning. How are you? It's me. If you are just discovering this video and you haven't watched my channel before, then this is probably the worst place you could possibly start. Rewind a few years, go back, watch some early videos, find out a little bit about me and what I'm up to. This video is very much aimed at my loyal followers, the people who have followed me on YouTube, the oldies but goldies, as Louise Pentland would say, who've been there from the start, or certainly been here for a couple of years. Anybody who has just discovered this channel in the last year, and hasn't already gone and binged back from the start, then you're going to find this video A, really boring, and B, totally and utterly pointless. This is me coming on. I had planned to put a full face of makeup on and do a nice staged set, and then I thought, no Claire, that's not you. So there's not a scrap of makeup on this face, and I'm trying really hard to hopefully block out some of the sunlight from outside my windows, and I'm just squatting in the corner of my living room for you. This is an update video. This is a kind of wind down from the past 2 years, a little bit about my plans for the rest of this year, and answering some questions really. I've put a couple of posts out on social media over the last few months and never got around to picking up the camera and filming, for kind of ask me anything Q&As kind of stuff, and so I know what you want to know, and I'm going to tell you those things. And I also wanted to just give you just a bit of a general life update really on beautiful things and me, and what's going to happen to it moving forward. I've got some notes because I know that I'm going to forget things and I'm going to forget dates. So firstly, I suppose I should explain my absence. I don't know how many videos I've uploaded in the past 12 months, but I suspect it's probably no more than 12, which, coming from somebody who at one point 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, was uploading 3 times a week, including one of those videos being a weekly vlog of my life, that's pretty appalling really. And I can make lots of excuses for that reason. I'm certainly not going to blame it on COVID, because it isn't COVID's fault. It's probably more a life reason more than anything. So if I rewind you back to probably the middle of 2018, I was doing a lot of personal vlogs as well as a lot of work vlogs. I was doing my BTHQ Banter vlogs, sort of behind the scenes at my studio, but I was also doing a lot of personal travel vlogs, a lot of videos about tidying up and organising and pound shop hauls and various stuff. I had a lot of things that would include my 2 children, and about then, probably I think I can pinpoint it to about the middle of 2018, Mr. Mac, back then, we know Mr. Mac's no more, right? Okay, not no more as in dead, he's still alive very much, and very much still a part of my life, and I'll cover more on him in a minute. But Mr. Mac, who no longer lives with me and is no longer married to me, for those who have missed that part, decided that he really didn't want to be on social media at all. He didn't want to be on Facebook personally, he'd never been on Instagram, he'd never been on Twitter, and he didn't want to appear in my videos anymore. From a work point of view, more than anything, his job was quite important, quite senior, and it really wasn't the right thing to do to be on social media, and certainly, you know, be playing silly games with me and jetting off around the world on my YouTube channel. So he kind of said to me, Claire, no more, and I was like, that's fine, no problem, I respect that. And then the children just got a little bit older. Little Mac, or Tom, as some of you know him, was like, no, I don't want to be on YouTube anymore, stop filming me, I don't want to be on it. And I have to respect that decision. At the end of the day, back then he was, how old was he then? He's now 14. He was, oh, was he only 10? That can't be right. I'm sure he was a bit older than that, but he didn't want to be involved anyway. He was at secondary school, and he'd made that decision. He didn't really want to be online anymore. And even little Miss Mac, or Izzy as you know her, she wasn't really all that interested anymore. So kind of all of my comrades behind me, my personal stuff anyway, and the things that I used to video and the things that I used to vlog about aside from sewing and crafting, kind of weren't open to me anymore. So I started to slow down on that aspect of things, started to stop producing that kind of content, and I don't think it was missed, if I'm honest. Those of you that are still here were here for the crafting content, and the reason that that has stopped I can put down to COVID. I continued to do BTHQ Banter through that first year of lockdown through 2020. Yes, 2020, 2019 have kind of blurred into one. I don't know if anyone else feels like that. But I continued to do BTHQ Banter through 2020. And I would imagine it was quite interesting to see behind the scenes of a business and how we coped not being able to teach classes, having to revert to online, having to reopen and then close again and then open with restrictions and everything else. I would imagine it was quite interesting viewing, and I will one day go back and look over those videos. But by the end of 2020 I was thoroughly exhausted with it all. I'd really had enough. I genuinely couldn't see a future where my business would return to how it was pre-pandemic. And during that year, during 2020, in the summer of 2020, was when Mr. Mac decided that he wanted to separate from me and leave our relationship and leave the family home. So for the last 6 months of 2020, I was very much focusing on that, processing that mentally. It did come as a complete and utter surprise to me, and my mind was elsewhere. Creating YouTube content wasn't forefront in my mind at all. Forefront in my mind was making sure that I continued to earn a living as best I could, and making sure that my children were okay mentally, and how they were dealing with the situation and how they were processing things. So hence, at the end of 2020, I made the decision that BTHQ Banter was no more. It had become a chore. I used to enjoy it. I used to enjoy talking to you, telling you things, and whilst you still continued to comment and engage with me and involve me in conversation, which I love, I just didn't have the personal energy for it anymore, and something had to give, and YouTube gave. So, oh, that's the Amazon man. Hold that thought. Oh, and I'm back in the room. That was over locker threads, nothing exciting. But yeah, so YouTube came to an abrupt halt at the end of 2020, yes. And 2021, the last year just gone, I tried to do some BTHQ Banter. I picked the camera up every now and again, and once I had 15 or 20 minutes worth of footage, I uploaded it. But it was boring as anything. It wasn't exciting. And over the last 6 months, I haven't done anything. It's a bit frustrating looking back, because actually since probably November time, at the studio, things have really picked up and they've been interesting, and there has been lots of moments that you would have enjoyed seeing. But by that time the camera was in mothballs on the shelf here at home, and it wasn't even at the studio for me to pick up and record. So there's just been nothing, and I can only apologise. I tried a couple of tutorials, a couple of crochet tutorials. I did a couple of what I've been sewing videos, but I just wasn't feeling it last year at all. And I'm now starting to feel it again, hence I'm back, which is exciting. So I thought I would jump on, answer a few questions, give you a little bit of a what's what, and this is kind of my opportunity to give to you to help me and encourage to get me back back up and running if you want me to, because actually if you don't want me to and you're not going to watch my videos and you don't enjoy the content, I'd rather know that, because I won't waste my time. But I like to think that there are lots of you who do enjoy my content and do want to see what I've been up to, and I enjoy creating it for you. So that's kind of where I am at the moment. This is kind of a feeler video and a bit kind of out there. So let's answer some of the boring questions. Well, they're not boring questions, but they're really simple questions that when I put a little Q&A question out came out, that aren't actually sewing related, and they're more about me. So the first one was about the pets that we had acquired over the last year. So if you followed me on social media, I am still quite active on Facebook, and I do post on Instagram quite regularly personally, and they're both public profiles, so if you follow me on there then you will have seen various editions. Right back early in 2020, yes, I struggle so hard with when things happened. Back early in 2020, we acquired the wonderful Wonky Cat. If you were watching BTHQ Banter, you will have remembered him turning up at the studio like a bedraggled mess, and Mr. Mac allowing me to bring him home and introduce him to our family. Well, he was, and still is, much loved, turned into the most beautifully affectionate cat. He never went out. He tried to go out a couple of times and managed to get himself spectacularly lost, so we decided that he would be a house cat when we finally got him home, and he was loved by all. But sadly, last summer, late summer 2021, we had to let poor Wonky get put to sleep. He really wasn't a healthy cat, and on reflection I think he was incredibly poorly when he came to us, but we didn't really realise. He just started to waste away. He would eat and eat and eat and eat, but just wasn't putting on any weight. He was getting really thin, and when we had some tests done, the vet discovered a huge mass on his chest that had been pushing down on his lungs and causing him problems breathing, and he was just a very sleepy, very tired cat. We never knew how old he was when we got him. We didn't have a clue, but we did suspect he was quite elderly anyway, and I now wonder whether he had perhaps been abandoned because he was unwell and was going to be expensive, and potentially had just been kicked to the wayside. We also wonder perhaps he belonged to someone elderly who maybe passed away from COVID. In the early lockdown, people didn't realise they had a cat and he just strayed. We don't know. But what I do know is that he came to us just as we needed him, just as the separation and everything was coming to a head. He came to live with us. He gave us so much love in the year that he was with us, and was absolutely adored by the children and myself, and he made a very loyal following on Instagram. His profile is still live if you want to go and check it out, BTHQ Wonky Cat, and he was a beautiful puss cat, and I love him dearly. But no, sadly he is no more. We then acquired, Christmas time 2020, my daughter got a lovely little Rankins dragon called Stitch. It's like a little bearded dragon, but like a little mini version, and he is adorable. He's the love of my life. She does love him very much, but she doesn't give him anywhere near enough attention, as with all children and all pets, I think. So he's my baby. He is lovely. He's a funny little creature. He loves nothing more than cuddles. But sadly, the breed that he is, they go into what is called brumation for quite long periods of time, where they basically just go to sleep, and put the fear of God in you, because you think they're dead every day, and you have to sort of prod them a bit, check that they're still breathing, and then leave them be. And at the moment, Stitch is in brumation. He's been asleep probably for the past 6 weeks now. He is getting to the point where he's starting to poke his head out of his little house and open his eyes occasionally, but then he looks around and thinks, nah, do you know what, not interested, and goes back to sleep. So He's been very boring at the moment, but I'm pretty sure he will come back to life and wake up fairly soon. Now we're starting to see the early signs of spring. I think he will very much come back to life. So we'll see more of him on the channel in due course. We also have the addition of 2, or was 2, now 1. I'll get to that. Axolotls. For those of you who don't know, axolotls are small water-dwelling creatures that come from the salamander line of creatures, shall we say. They're not fish. They eat worms, and basically they float around eating worms and pooing all day long. But they are very funny little creatures, and if they sit still long enough and you get a dry wipe marker, you can draw faces and put hats on them on the side of their tank, and they do look very funny, which is I think why my daughter wanted one. But they are great. Again, it's down to me. I'm the one that cleans it out every single week, buys the worms, feeds them the worms. But I do very much enjoy being in my kitchen now and having a little chat with Mindy. She gets very active and floats around and chats to me and yaps like a small puppy at me when I'm cooking. So I like her. She's very lovely. We did have Mork and Mindy. Mork was the bigger of the 2 when we got them. He subsequently ate off Mindy's foot. The great thing about axolotls is they can regenerate every part of their body. So she grew a new foot, and then she got fat and decided that she was going to be the boss. Mork then got sick and died. We don't know why. We don't know if it was our fault. I don't think it was. I did everything I should. I watched an inordinate amount of YouTube videos. I bought all of the kit, all of the chemicals, did all the water testing, everything I was supposed to do, and he still sadly died. So Mork is no more. He's actually in the front garden underneath a ceramic Buddha, and every time the children come home they say hi Mork as they come in the front door, which is a bit creepy, but you know. So that, in short, is what's happened to the pets. Wonky, bless him, is no more. Mork is no more. We still have Mindy, we still have Stitch. There is no intention to get any new creatures anytime soon. I have said that when we move house, when and if we move house and we're settled into a new house, that my son can have a dog. When and if that happens, watch this space. What's next on my list? Mrs. Mac. Yes, you may remember a year ago now I had started to launch a new brand, Mrs. Mac, alongside my Beautiful Things craft brand. Mrs. Mac was going to be about helping you get organised, helping you plan your time, encouraging you to take me time and to look after yourself, put yourself first. It was launched with the best of intentions, and it was me telling you how I do it, because I pride myself in being someone who's always been fairly well organised, who is very much aware of my mental health and when I need to put myself first and what I need to do to keep myself on an even keel, and I still am. But it was just the wrong time to launch. I was trying to help people with planning lives when nobody knew what was happening from one day to the next. You know, you couldn't plan to do your school run because you didn't know if school was going to be open. You couldn't order your online food shop because you didn't know if you were going to get an online slot. You couldn't book yourself a spa day so you could have a bit of time off because they were all closed. It just, everything about Mrs. Mac and the things that I did and how I functioned at the time wasn't working. So my method wasn't working. And slowly now that we've eased into this period of trying to push COVID aside and crack on, slowly now it's starting to become right again, and those things can happen again, and I find myself going back to some of my planning strategies. And as I launched, A, I started to realise that the timing was totally wrong, and B, I felt really two-faced because I'd stopped my weekly planning. I'd stopped looking after myself. I'd let my health get bad. I'd let my mental health get bad. I wasn't coping very well, and it felt wrong of me to try and coach people if I couldn't even follow my own principles. And so I canned Mrs. Mac. It's not canned forever. I have every intention of relaunching it, but not this year. This year is a new year for me. It's a fresh start. Last year was a testing the waters year, working out what worked for me, what didn't work for me, which leads me nicely into my next segment. This year is very much a move on, crack on, start to get back to normal, and then maybe, never say never, maybe next year Mrs. Mac will rear her not so ugly head. But I will still very much be pushing that me time message and that put yourself first message throughout the year, because it is so important, and it's very important to me. I'm very passionate about how I do things, and I'm very passionate about my audience and the community that I have around me. I'm so incredibly thankful for you all, because honestly, if I hadn't had the support that I've had from my business, from my followers, from my pupils, from the people who enjoy my content, I don't honestly know where I would be right now. I don't think I would have a business for a start, and I don't think I would be in a very good space mentally. I'm so grateful for that support. I mean, I'm sitting here, you can't see it actually, hang on, I don't know if it's probably going to blow out. Can you see that beautiful bunch of flowers on the windowsill? That arrived the other day from one of my lovely pupils, Elsa. I had a bit of a crappy week last week, and she just sent me a bunch of flowers because she knew I needed a hug, and that's just lovely. I don't expect you all to send me flowers. I mean, feel free if you want to, but honestly, thank you to every comment that I get on my social media, every comment that I get on my YouTube channel. Nice comments, obviously. They are the things that keep me going, that keep me ahead and keep me wanting to move forward and keep doing what I do. So thank you for that. So yeah, last year, testing the waters. There is a new man on the scene. If you've watched the videos over the last year, he has popped up in a couple of them. Obviously, if you follow my social media, my Instagram, my Facebook, you will have seen very much that I'm in a new relationship and I'm very happy. Said man has been on the scene since last January. We started dating via walks in the park because that's all we were allowed to do back in the January. And we've been together for just over a year. And he is fabulous. I'm not gonna say too much because he'll probably watch this, and so will his friends and his family, no doubt. So I'm not going to embarrass him, but yeah, we're very happy. But again, with regards to social media, it's for someone to come into a new relationship and walk straight into someone who's instantly going to put a camera in their face and start vlogging on holiday and everything else. Nobody wants that. I wouldn't like that if I was coming into a new relationship. So I need to break him in gently to YouTube. Be gentle with him and how much I choose to put out. And I think this year what I put out on my YouTube channel will probably be more creative than personal. But obviously I know that you like the personal aspect. I know that you like to get to know the person behind a business, and so of course you will still get me. What you see is what you get with me, and you know that. But it will probably be more creative than family orientated. So yes, New Man is a DJ, and he also does laser shows for festivals and nightclub events and things like that. So I have found a new love of going clubbing again, which I haven't done since I was about 18. I'm enjoying house music again, which I haven't done for ages. Yeah, a real change of my lifestyle in general. So you'll notice that. You'll also notice a change potentially in me as a person. I've chopped all my hair off for a start. I'm loving that. The black nails are no more. We're all about colour, and I'm just happier in my skin. I'm not trying to be someone that I'm not, which I think the old Mrs. Mac was starting to do. And for that, I'm sorry. But yeah, I still like to get dressed up. I still like to go out. You will never stop me loving fancy hotels and posh travel. That is my guilty pleasure, but I think everybody has one. And I still love a fancy restaurant and a good glass of wine. But yeah, who doesn't like a fancy restaurant and a good glass of wine? But yeah, so I keep saying but yeah. It's very annoying. What am I thinking now? New Man, not been very present, sorry about that. BTHQ got a bit overwhelming. Concentrating on my family. My brain's feeling like it's coming out of its fog, going back up a gear a bit. Plans for work. Often asked, will BTHQ Banter resume? No. Sorry, no. I actually feel a lot more present in my business when I'm not picking the camera up all the time and thinking, will this make good content? Is this interesting? We've had a huge move around at the studio over Christmas. Once again, I moved the furniture, but it is so much better. We now have a workshop room and a retail room. We've got spaces where people can come and chill and craft and sit. We have regular opening hours so people can come in and purchase fabrics, which we've decided to continue to do. Originally, we just set up a pop-up fabric shop during lockdown, but it's proved so successful, so we're going to keep it going. And it's nice to be present, it's nice to be in the moment, it's nice to be talking to my customers without thinking, are they going to mind if I pick the camera up and ask them to have this conversation with me down a lens? So no, BTHQ Banter won't be returning. If you want to see behind the scenes of the studio, the best way to do that is to follow our Beautiful Things Instagram account. And I do still do some stories and photographs and things on there. And I'm going to do more of that in the future, moving forward. So I will do the nearest equivalent to BTHQ Banter, but via Instagram stories, which incidentally also shares to our Facebook page stories, so you can see them there too. So that's that. Plans for in-person at BTHQ. Again, we're encouraging you, come and use the space if you're locally. There's a lovely table you can sit round, bring your knitting or any kind of handicrafts. We've got our sofa, the kettle is always on. Those spaces are available in the retail area, so whenever you come in, you won't prevent a class from taking place. You won't be in the way. If you need somewhere to just come and escape for an hour or two and have a cup of tea, then I want to encourage you to come and do that. We're open on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays and Saturdays. So that's that. Me teaching, I am doing a lot more in-person classes at the studio. You won't find me there at the weekend as much as you used to. I am working 1.5 Saturdays a month, and I have to do that for my mental health, but also for the fact that my children are growing up. They don't need me as much as they used to. They're with their dad quite a lot at the weekends, and when I do have them, I want to make sure again that I'm present with them, and that I'm doing things with them at the weekends. Because it won't be long before they don't want anything to do with me. They're not little anymore, so I need to step back from the studio at the weekends quite so much. But we have got a fantastic team of tutors working for us now, who have all come from in-house as well, which is lovely. So all of our tutors who do all of our staple classes started with their lessons with me and have come to BTHQ. They've done classes and they're homegrown, and that's great because they're just as passionate about BTHQ as I am, and they're able to answer the questions that I could answer. So actually it doesn't matter that I'm not there. I know you want to see me, but I'm not going to be there as much at the weekend. But you will find me there in the week on Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Fridays. So that's good. We have a lovely new Saturday girl, Jess, who will be able to help you with any retail purchases that you're making on a Saturday, if you want to come in, and she will happily make you a cup of tea as well. So in person things are going good. It's lovely to see people back in the studio, back learning, lots of laughter, lots of smiles on people's faces. It's fab. So come down if you're local, come and see us. Oh, I've got a numb bum. Online, our sewing club goes, I've probably got a coffee moustache. Our sewing club goes from strength to strength. We continue to open the doors to that every quarter. So the next entry point to that will be April. And people are loving it. We've now got members who've progressed all the way through from bronze, silver to gold and are now platinum members. And they are reaping a whole host of benefits as platinum members. And we've built such a lovely community. The group that goes alongside, the online group that goes alongside the club is always bursting with people making, sharing ideas, sharing projects. It's such a nice place. And when Facebook was quite negative at times over the last 2 years and so many people stepped back from it, I would always just throw myself into my groups and see what was going on in there, because they've always been such positive places and such a hive of creativity. We've been having monthly online socials via Zoom, where we've all been sewing together. We've had our ups and downs. We've lost a couple of members along the way, unfortunately, due to ill health as well as COVID. But it's been fab and I love it. I love the community that I've built. So if you want to find out more about the sewing club and you're not already a member, I will pop the link down in the comments down below. But that's been brilliant and that will continue. That goes from strength to strength. We have had a filming day in November and we have another one planned in March with our professional filming company, and I've filmed some great standalone courses, one of which is due to be released any day now. So if you are interested in a new sewing course, watch this space. And yeah, lots of exciting plans for the online side of the business as well as the in-person side of the business. We have great plans for an advent calendar for this year, which is really different, something really exciting. Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to this year actually. It's been so nice these past couple of weeks to be in a new invigorating space it's basically re-energized me, having that move around it. I walk in and think, oh, this is nice, I could stay here. Oh, I can. And it's great, and when people come in and feel the same way, that's lovely. I'm really enjoying sharing my space with people, and I would want to put that same kind of re-energize into my YouTube, into my online content. And that's kind of my mission over the next few months. So that leads me to a question. I'd thought about launching it, just going for it and launching it. And then I thought, no, that's a lot of time and effort if it's something that people aren't going to be interested in. I know many of you who have got this far, and well done if you have got this far, enjoy my YouTube content. I don't want to stop doing YouTube, but YouTube is very, very time heavy. There's the recording, there's the editing, there's the uploading, there's the management, there's the comment moderation, there's the thumbnail taking. There's so much goes on in creating a YouTube video that sometimes I don't think people really realise how much time and effort goes into YouTube. And yes, while I do monetize my channel, I by no means earn from YouTube the income that I would have earned if I'd calculated the amount of hours that I put into my channel. when my channel was busy. We're not talking about the last year. So I have been considering for some time, I'll still upload stuff to YouTube, don't worry, that's not going to stop, but some additional content, some extra content, I have been considering launching a Patreon. Now, it wouldn't be a pricey Patreon. I know some of them out there are ridiculous. They start at like £2 and then you can be like £25–30 a month. No one's got that kind of money to spend, and I wouldn't expect that of you. But I have been thinking that if you want the more videography heavy tutorials, sewing tutorials, if you want my hacks, my tips, my tricks for sewing, and it would purely be for sewing, I'm not going to do it for crochet, but if you want some more of that behind the scenes running my business, I might put that stuff into a Patreon, and it would be a low-cost Patreon, no more than £5 a month, but to give you exclusive access to the tutorials, exclusive access to behind the scenes. It would be content that wouldn't go out anywhere else. Probably the only place that it might go to would be if you were a member of my sewing club and you were at the platinum level. That would probably include Patreon membership, because I think that's only fair. If you're a platinum member of my sewing club, you've been member of my sewing club for 2 years, and you've continued with your membership, so that's kind of a reward. Being a platinum member is more about perks than anything else. You get discounts on products and classes and various other stuff. So yes, I'm considering running a Patreon. If you don't know what a Patreon is, basically it's a website called Patreon, which supports, the aim of it is to support content creators financially, to allow them the income and the money to spend time creating content, which is something that they love doing. So it's for existing content creators. It's very rare that someone will start a YouTube channel and start a Patreon at the same time. It tends to be people who have an online business or have a business that they need that extra support, that reliable regular income source. So you may have 10 subscribers, you might have 1,000 subscribers, but when you're a content creator and you know how many subscribers you have and you know how much money they're giving you each month, you know that each month you're going to have that regular chunk of income that you can put towards content creation. And that's basically the aim of Patreon, that and helping to build exclusive communities, and so making you therefore feel good because you're A, supporting your favourite content creators, but B, you're getting some bang for your buck and you're getting something in return that nobody else can have unless they too are a Patreon or a supporter of that channel or content creator. So I hope that makes sense. So I am considering doing a Patreon for sewing. I think that Patreon would have probably a monthly online live with a fellow sewist business owner, talking about how we run our business and top tips for sewing and things like that, and you would have the opportunity to pose questions to the person that I was interviewing. So a monthly guest slot. I would do a monthly tutorial, sewing tutorial. It would be for a little something, like previously I've done my tea bag holders or my needle scissor cases, that kind of thing, a little tiny something, little sewing tutorial, and then probably a chatty behind the scenes, this is what's happening with the business, and these are the struggles that I've had. I like to be honest, these are the struggles that I've had, this is how I've overcome them, and this is my plans moving forward. And you as Patreon members would have the opportunity, I could get feedback from you as well, so I could say, would you prefer this, this and this? Should I do a video on this, this and this? I'm going to make a new dress, what pattern do you prefer? This one, or this one? So that would be what would happen with the Patreon, and the Patreon would then help me then create the additional YouTube content. You guys would help me decide what dress to make. I'd show you the tips and tricks behind the scenes on how I made it, but then I'd then have a normal video for YouTube saying, here's one I made earlier, thanks to all my Patreons people for helping me in the process. So if you are interested in potentially me launching a Patreon, as I say, it'll be no more than £5 a month. And there would be an option, a real super low cost option, where you can just help to contribute once a month, but you won't get anything more than a big thank you as well. So there'd be 2 options. Let me know in the comments down below. Likewise, if you've got any idea for content, things that you want to see me do this year, I'm not going to say yes or no, but I'd love your feedback. Feedback is so important. If you've got any more random questions, I don't know, if you want to know what shower gel I use or what jam I have on my toast, there is things that I will happily tell you, and if it makes you happy and it makes you smile, then fill your boots. I love comments. I love replying to the comments. I'm going to sit now while this video is live, and I'm going to be answering the comments while you are watching it. I shall be putting this up for a premiere, so hopefully most of you will have already seen that I'm online and answering questions and chatting with you in the comments. And I look forward to the rest of the year, whatever that may bring for you and me. So thank you very much for watching. I will see you all again soon. Bye!